Okay, thank you for joining us today in another episode of highlighting a Division III student athletes here during Division III week. We got a little bit unique of a situation currently as we have two cross country and track and field student athletes out in India. If you want to kind of introduce yourselves, maybe tell us your name, major.
I'm Avi. I'm a biomedical engineering major. I'm a junior at WPI.
I'm Jarrett. Also a junior and I'm an aerospace major.
Awesome. And so Jarrett and Avi, where exactly in India are you?
Yeah, so we're in Mandi, India. We're staying on campus at the Indian Institute of Technology in Mandi. They have campuses all over India, but we're staying at the one specifically in like North India in Mandi, which is kind of a rural region. Lots of mountains, pretty high up to in elevation.
So yeah, it's currently 10:08 here Eastern. And then you said it's 7 p.m. over by you, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's quite a time difference. So I appreciate you guys making some time. I want you guys to kind of tell us what IQP is as a whole, and then what you guys are doing currently in your experience out in India.
Yeah, so IQP is like an interdisciplinary project that is kind of a requirement for you to graduate at WPI. So it's a project, it stands for Interactive Qualifying Project. You can complete it anywhere in the world, including Worcester. We have sites everywhere. We're in India right now, and there's also people like out in Namibia, out in Greece, pretty much all over. And it's a really good experience to work with people in other majors and work on like a kind of humanity-based project, something that you're not really studying like in your major. And it's a good experience just to like I guess broaden your knowledge about different things.
The India project site is a little bit different than some of the other sites because it's one of the few where you actually go and you work with other students or other people from the country that you're going to. So I think most project sites, you just go and you work on the project with your sponsor there, but we're on campus in IIT Mandi. So we're working with other students, which is a little bit more unique, I'd say, than some of the other project sites.
And then are you both working on the same project together, or you guys have separate?
No, we're different.
If you can just go a little more in depth, each of you just tell us about what you're doing individually. And then maybe you could start from ID 2050 last term, the research, building trust within your group, and then getting to the point where you are now, actually implementing your studies and research.
My project is basically finding the connection between art and technology inside the region that we're staying at. So we basically are interviewing local artists and see kind of how they use technology in their everyday lives to create and promote their art. Back in ID 2050 last term, we did a lot of research to try and like find, I guess, the prominent arts in the region and see like the type of artists that we really want to interview. It was pretty hard to find that from I guess just online because local artists don't really have a huge internet presence here. So we get the most information just from going out on site to different cities in the region and just walking around and interviewing people and just seeing what they say in person.
And my project is its main title is Landslide Vulnerability Assessment of the Mandi region. So in this region in particular, within India, there's a lot of landslides, especially during the monsoon season. Last year, I think this campus, at one point, they had like pretty much the whole road connecting both campuses just pretty much slid out and it got buried. So that was a bunch of days where people were stranded on either campus. And this is like an every year, every monsoon season phenomenon, and it goes on for months on end. And so what we're doing is we're doing a landslide assessment. So we're using satellite data and physical sensors that they put in the mountainside, collecting data from both those and figuring out where the most vulnerable areas are. And we're also doing some surveys and interviews with people to gauge their their risk perception of landslides and that sort of thing. So one thing our advisors tasked our team with is to develop a little VR simulation of a landslide that we can show people and safely observe how they react to those sort of events. That's been the bulk of our work. Back in ID 2050, most of our research was just learning about the region, learning about historic landslides. And then once we got here, we got a lot more information and a lot more tasks about the project that were a little bit different than what we were originally envisioning, but we're on a much clearer track now, and it's going well.
That's awesome. That kind of leads to my next question. From ID 2050 to now, and then you being out there already for a few weeks, what are some maybe challenges that came up, like you mentioned, Jarrett, that came up that you weren't really anticipating? And then what are some things so far that worked out really well due to your research and preparation?
I guess the biggest problem or the biggest issue, and I think a lot of the teams can relate to this, is coordinating with the IIT students here, because they're working on a full course load right now, and we're just here doing the project. So it ends up being a lot of times, we can't always set up meeting times, and it feels like we're kind of dead in the water for a day or so. But I think we're getting over it. A lot of late night meetings, that usually does the trick. It's a little complicated, trying to organize trips out of town. You have to book the taxis, and there's always sometimes a language barrier with stuff like that. But things that have been going very well, I think the advisors here, the professors that we're working with are really nice. They're wonderful, and they're like super intelligent. Like they know so much about the projects and the subjects that we're working on. So it's very fun and entertaining to get to talk to them and learn from them and see how they want us to do the project and collaborate with them.
One of the challenges that my groups faced a lot is the language barrier here, or the language barrier, especially for interviews. It's really hard to kind of, I guess, talk in broken English to people, and especially when I guess you're asking like complex questions like how they use AI in their art and stuff like that. One thing that's been helpful, I guess, like Jarrett said, is also the advisors here, and we've also been able to have a lot of help from our sponsor. He's been able to offer us master's students who are also working on like similar humanities like projects to kind of come with us on our trips and give us contacts. And the master's students here have helped us a lot on the project so far, which is good and something that we didn't really anticipate from the start.
That's awesome. I mean, sounds like you guys are having a good balance of seeing your research come to fruition, and then working out for you, and then also a good amount of challenges to keep you kind of motivated, keep you kind of hungry for more. That's really good to hear from both of you guys. And kind of leading to my next question, I know not all projects align with people's majors and people's area of study, but this project in particular for both of you, what are some takeaways that can help you for the future?
I guess you're right that the project really has nothing to do with my specific major, but I think the biggest takeaway for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people, is just learning how to work in a group, especially a group internationally. Like for all of ID 2050, we had to coordinate meetings and stuff from across the world through I think it was a 10.5 hour difference at the time. And now that we're here, we still have to, coordinate, and it's a different culture. So there's a different idea of like what a group is and how a group should work together. So there's a lot of those barriers that you have to work around and figure out how to come to a common agreement and common meeting time and common group vision. So I would say that's probably the biggest takeaway, is just how to work in a group and how to work out any issues that come up in a group.
Yeah, I think I agree. Working in a group is definitely something that's been a challenge here, and learning how to adapt to that has been big. Another thing is, I think, like just adapting to like the culture here in general. It's just so different from the US. I guess like I feel like once we got here on campus, it took everyone about a week or two just to adapt to living here, and learning how to do that, like eat the food, I guess, like just be in a different country that's so different. and also simultaneously work on a project has really, like, I guess, taught me how to be adaptable, and I think that's going to help in the future for sure.
And you mentioned food. I gotta ask, as I've been asking others that have either come back or are currently on IQP, what's been your favorite dish? What's been your favorite dish since being out there?
The most recent favorite is the honey chili potatoes.
Sounds good.
It's basically just French fries like slathered in like a honey chili sauce that we get at the canteen here.
Yeah, it's really good. My favorite dish so far has been the momos, which are kind of like dumplings, I guess, but they've got a little bit more, I guess, vegetables inside of them. They're really good.
Yeah, I mean both of those sound really good. So, um, kind of shifting gears towards the athletic side, can each of you kind of give one, or if you can't think of one, a couple of your favorite moments as a part of the cross country team or track and field team?
Yeah, I guess one moment that kind of stands out is qualifying for nationals. Back my sophomore year, I was coming back from injury, so I was the alternate on the team. But just like I guess having that experience to just go with the entire team to Kentucky Kentucky Louisville, and just I guess hanging out with everyone and running in the biggest meet D3 has. It was a great experience. It was really awesome.
Yeah, this is similar to that. That is definitely one of my highlights. But another highlight was the next year when we only had two individuals qualify for nationals, and then I don't remember how many, was it eight of us?
Yeah,
Eight of us drove the 15.5 hour drive to Lansing, Michigan, just to watch him for whatever 25-minute race it was. That was a lot of fun. I think it just kind of showed how dedicated we are to each other, and how much we're willing to, or how far we're willing to go to hype each other up and just be there to cheer people on. So I think that was definitely one of my favorite moments on the cross country team.
Yeah, that's got to be a really cool drive. I would say that when I went with you guys down to Louisville, and I saw on race day a bunch of your teammates, even maybe even a couple alumni came down, and I heard that it was overnight trip, and that commitment to make that drive and support for 30 minutes around there is pretty crazy. That's really cool and very unique. For I think cross country as a whole, and kind of speaking of that unique piece, are there any team traditions whether if it's pre-meet, pre-race, or during a trip or pre-season, anything?
Yeah, so I know we talked about the Ben and Jerry's 4 by mile, so I won't go into that again. But another tradition we have every year before the cross country season even starts, the entire team, men's and women's cross country, we go on a retreat somewhere and just hang out for 2 or 3 days, do a lot of running. And it's a really awesome experience, nice bonding with everyone, especially like the new freshmen who come in, they get kind of assimilated with everyone. This year we went to Vermont, and that was really fun, really hilly. And the year before we went up to Maine, and it's just really nice to I guess get away from hustle and bustle of Worcester and have some nice peaceful long runs out in the middle of nowhere, I guess.
Something else we do. This is for the men's track and field team. Or yeah, before the indoor season starts, usually when we get back from winter break, we have a little meeting. What do they call it? Like team goal setting, I think, and everyone writes a big goal, a small goal, on a piece of paper about what they want to accomplish in the season, and then everyone also leaves a piece of paper with their name on it around the room, and everyone goes around and you just write something nice about the person. And so at the end of that, everyone has a piece of paper with just a list of compliments or things they do well as an athlete or as a person. And it's just a nice way to kick off the season and boost your confidence going into it.
Thank you guys for sharing that. Sounds like really cool. Changes of pace going up to Vermont and Maine, and then team meetings like that are always really important, and being able to support each other, that's awesome. Final question here. If you could give a piece of advice or maybe something you wish you knew as a graduating senior in high school that you know now.
If you're stressed or worried about time, like time management or just how much time you'll have to do running and school, I would say don't worry about it, because there will be a way to make the time or find the time. And obviously it depends on sport. I can't speak to every sport, but certainly for running, there's always a workaround, where you can just get in the work on your own, and where you can work out, times where you might miss practice or something with the coach. And you can always fit in what you want to do, and you shouldn't shy away from that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, I guess when you're looking for a school, I wouldn't worry about like, I guess, how fast like everyone is, how fast you need to be to get on the team. Everyone that joins the team here, and I'm sure it's the same for other schools, they just see massive improvement. College is a different sport, pretty much. You're going to improve if you put in the work, and I think yeah, just have confidence in yourself.
Awesome. No, really good pieces of advice. And I'll just close by saying thank you for taking the time out today or tonight for you guys to speak with me, and then obviously showcase your student athlete experience, not only at WPI or in India, but as a Division III student athlete as well. So thank you very much, and I appreciate it.